Welcome back to the Open Book, and to the series of blogs, The Inheritance. In the last episode, we explored the future of cities. We looked at the strange paradox of urbanization, how cities became engines of innovation, wealth and opportunity, but also centers of pollution, inequality, stress and ecological pressure. But beneath every city lies something even more powerful than concrete, steel or politics. Money. In this blog 11, Power, Profit, and the Planet, we will look at who really controls the global economy. Who funds the cities? Who controls investment? Who decides which industries grow, which communities prosper, which countries rise, and which are left behind? Tonight, we ask a dangerous question. Who really controls the global economy? Most of us grow up believing governments run economies. But the modern world is far more complicated than that. Capital moves across borders in seconds. Corporations operate across dozens of countries. Supply chains stretch across continents. Investment funds manage sums larger than the GDP of entire nations. Technology companies influence communication, shopping, entertainment, politics and even public opinion. And increasingly, governments themselves operate under the pressure of markets. If investors lose confidence, currencies fall. If debt rises too far, borrowing becomes expensive. If regulations become too strict, industries relocate. Governments may win elections, but markets often decide the limits within which they can act. That is the hidden architecture of the modern global economy. Adam Smith believed markets could create prosperity through competition and innovation. Karl Marx warned that capital would eventually concentrate in fewer and fewer hands. Karl Polanyi argued that societies become unstable when markets overpower social and human values. And today, all three seem partly right. Because the modern economy has achieved something extraordinary. It created immense wealth. It lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty. It connected the planet through trade, finance and technology. But it also created deep fragility. A tiny percentage of humanity controls a massive share of global wealth. Entire countries depend on volatile capital flows. Food systems depend on global logistics. Energy markets affect political stability. And environmental destruction is often treated as an acceptable side effect of economic growth. That may be the greatest contradiction of all. The economy behaves as though nature is infinite. But the planet is not. A forest is treated as timber before it is recognized as water storage, biodiversity and climate protection. Rivers become economic assets only after they are polluted. Soil becomes valuable only after it begins disappearing. We measure GDP obsessively, but GDP counts production, not wisdom. It measures economic activity, not whether civilization is becoming sustainable. And underneath all this sits the growing concentration of corporate power. The largest corporations today don't simply sell products. They shape ecosystems. Digital platforms influence what billions of people see, believe and buy. Algorithms increasingly shape attention itself. Data has become one of the most valuable resources in history. Earlier empires controlled land and armies. Modern empires control information. Shoshana Zuboff called this surveillance capitalism, a system where human behavior itself becomes a source of profit. And this links directly to our earlier episode on the consumption machine. Modern economies don't simply respond to human needs anymore. They actively manufacture desire. Consumption is engineered. Attention is monetized. Human beings are increasingly treated not as citizens, but as consumers and data streams. At the same time, inequality keeps widening. And inequality is not only a moral problem. It becomes a political problem, a social problem, eventually, a civilizational problem. Because societies become unstable when people believe the system is fundamentally unfair. And now another force is entering the picture. Artificial intelligence. For centuries, economic power depended on land, labor, factories, oil, trade routes and financial systems. But what happens when power depends increasingly on intelligence itself? What happens when machines can analyze faster than humans, predict faster than governments, trade faster than regulators, and perhaps eventually think faster than institutions can react? That is no longer science fiction. The OECD and UNESCO are already warning that AI governance is lagging far behind AI capability growth. And this may become one of the defining dangers of our age. Human institutions evolve slowly. Technology evolves exponentially. That gap is widening. And here's what makes this even more complicated. Artificial intelligence is not floating in the clouds. It requires massive energy systems, data centers, rare minerals, computing infrastructure and enormous concentrations of capital. So, the AI revolution is also a struggle over energy, resources, power and control. Which brings us back to the deeper question underneath this entire series. Can humanity build an economic system powerful enough to create prosperity without destroying the ecological and social foundations on which prosperity depends? Because every episode so far points toward the same conclusion. The planet has limits. Water has limits. Food systems have limits. Energy systems have limits. And perhaps most dangerously of all, human attention, trust and governance also have limits. The real struggle of the 21st century may not be capitalism versus socialism in the old ideological sense. It may be something far deeper. Extraction versus stewardship. Short-term profit versus long-term survival. Machine efficiency versus human dignity. Power without accountability versus power held within moral limits. For more details and references, please read the blog. And now humanity stands at the edge of another threshold. For the first time in history, intelligence itself may become industrialized. In the next episode, we enter that world. The intelligence explosion, when machines think faster than humans. What happens when artificial intelligence begins reshaping labor, governments, warfare, creativity, decision-making and even truth itself? And what happens if machines begin moving faster than human judgment can keep up? That's next time, next Thursday, on The Open Book. Thanks for joining me.